It wasn't supposed to happen like this. A locked safe, a secret plan, and one lie that just changed everything. Because the moment Ross Cullum walked into that room and saw Marco Rios standing there, everything started to fall apart. And what Marco was trying to steal? That could destroy lives or save one. But here's the real question. How far is Marco willing to go for love? At Windermere the air felt heavy, too quiet, too still, and that's always a bad sign. Marco stood frozen in front of the safe, his hand still hovering near the lock. He wasn't supposed to be here, not now, not like this. Then footsteps, slow, measured, dangerous. Ross Cullum stepped into the room, and in that single moment everything changed. Cullum's eyes narrowed as he took in the scene. Marco, the open safe. The tension you could almost feel in the air. For a split second, neither man spoke. Then Cullum broke the silence. Calm, controlled, but with an edge that cut deep. He assumed Marco was there for Britt Westbourne's medication. After all, that was the only logical explanation. Cullum himself had come to restock the supply, but something didn't feel right. Because this wasn't Marco's job, and Cullum knew it. So when he pointed out that it wasn't Marco's turn to administer Britt's dose, Marco hesitated. Just for a second. But that second, that was everything. Marco quickly covered, acting confused, pretending he'd mixed up the schedule. A small mistake, an easy excuse. At least Cullum didn't argue, he didn't accuse, he didn't push, and somehow, that was worse. Because Cullum wasn't the kind of man who reacted without thinking. He observed. He waited. And then, he verified. Later Cullum made a call, a simple one, to Pascal. And with just a few quiet questions, the truth came out. Pascal had already spoken to Marco earlier that day. About the schedule. Marco hadn't been confused. He had lied. And now, Cullum knew. Meanwhile, across town at the Port Charles Grill, a completely different kind of tension was building. Lucas Jones wasn't focused on food, or drinks, or even the people around him. His eyes were locked on Elizabeth Baldwin and Rick Lansing, together, talking, reconnecting, and something about it didn't sit right. So Lucas did something bold. Something impulsive. He walked right up to their table and pulled Elizabeth away, using work as an excuse. But the truth? He needed to talk to her, alone. Because what he had to say couldn't wait. Outside, away from Rick, Lucas finally said what was on his mind. He was worried, not just about Elizabeth, but about everything. Because he knew what it meant to take a risk on someone, he had done it himself. With Marco, and now, he wasn't sure if that had been a mistake. Still, Lucas didn't try to stop Elizabeth, he didn't tell her to walk away from Rick. Instead, he supported her, encouraged her. Because sometimes, love is about taking the risk, even when you're afraid of the fall. Back at the table, Elizabeth returned to Rick. And something had shifted. Her walls, lower, her guard, down. She admitted it. Softly, carefully, but clearly, she wanted to see where this could go. With him, Rick listened. Really listened. And for a moment, it felt real. Honest. Like maybe, just maybe, they had another chance. But Rick had a secret. A big one. And secrets? They don't stay buried forever. He decided he needed to come clean, at least, partially, so he admitted something small first. That whole digital detox story, it wasn't true. He hadn't been unplugged, he hadn't been off the grid, but before he could go further, before he could reveal the truth about Alexis's basement, Elizabeth stopped him. She didn't want details, didn't want complications, didn't want anything that could ruin this moment. Because for her, the past didn't matter. Not if it didn't affect their future. And just like that, the truth stayed buried. For now, but secrets have a way of resurfacing. And Marco, he was about to take things even further. At the restaurant, Marco finally met up with Lucas. And this time, there were no lies between them. Marco admitted it. He had tried, and failed, to steal Britt's medication. But he wasn't done, not even close. He was going to try again. Lucas froze, because this wasn't just reckless, This was dangerous. Both Cullum and Jen Sidwell had already caught Marco near that safe. Suspicion was already building, and if they connected the dots, if they realized Marco was helping Britt, it wouldn't end well. Lucas knew that. He felt it. And for the first time, fear really set in. Not just for himself, but for Marco. But Marco, he didn't share that fear. Not in the same way. He wasn't worried about Sidwell hurting him physically. No, his fear ran deeper than that. Colder, more personal. He was afraid of losing his father, of being cut out completely, of becoming nothing to the man whose approval once meant everything. And yet, even that wasn't enough to stop him. Because Marco had made a choice. A clear one. He wasn't going to live his life for fear anymore. He wasn't going to stay trapped in expectations, or control, or manipulation. He was choosing something else. Someone else. Lucas. A future, a new life. And no matter the risk, he wasn't turning back. But while danger was building in the shadows, somewhere else, chaos had a completely different flavor. At Lulu Spencer's house, romance was the plan. Candles, soft lighting, a carefully prepared dinner. Everything was perfect. Or at least, it was supposed to be. Because Lulu had gone all out. For Nathan, for a night that mattered, a night that meant something. But life had other plans. Nathan showed up, not alone, but with James. And the moment that door opened, everything changed. Within minutes, the carefully planned evening unraveled. Wine spilled, a glass of Chardonnay soaking into the table. Lulu's phone? Ruined. Completely soaked, and just when things couldn't get worse, the chicken burned. Smoke. Mess. Chaos. And through it all, James. Unpredictable. Unstoppable. And honestly, a little adorable. Because sometimes the mess is the moment. The thing you remember, the thing that makes everything real. And Lulu saw that. She didn't fight it. Didn't stress over perfection. Instead, she pivoted. Suggested something simple, fun, unexpected. Pizza, at a place with an arcade. And just like that, the night changed. Not ruined, just different. Better in a way no one planned. But even as laughter filled the air, and the night found its rhythm again, somewhere else, a storm was quietly forming, and it was about to explode. At the Brown Dog Bar, the music was low, the lights were dim, but the tension, it was rising fast. Because Britt Westbourne was about to say something that would change everything, Brad Cooper sat across from her, watching closely. He already knew something was off. Britt wasn't acting like herself. Too quiet. Too distant, like someone who had already made a decision and couldn't turn back. And then she said it. Calm, direct, final. She was leaving town. Brad blinked. Once, twice, like maybe he hadn't heard her right. But Britt didn't take it back, didn't soften it, didn't hesitate. She explained why. Because the project, the one Jen Sidwell and Ross Cullum were pushing, it was too dangerous. Not just risky, not just complicated, dangerous. The kind of power they were trying to create shouldn't be in their hands. Britt knew that, better than anyone. Because she had seen what happened to people who outlived their usefulness. They disappeared, silenced, erased, and she wasn't going to be next. Brad leaned back, trying to process it. But then, it got worse. Because Britt wasn't leaving alone. She revealed the truth. The breakup with Jason Morgan, it was fake. All of it. A lie, a cover, because Jason was going with her, into hiding, together, and just like that, Brad's expression changed. Shock turned into frustration, then into something deeper, something personal, because he didn't believe in Jason, not anymore, maybe he never really did. Brad told her the truth. He thought she was making a mistake, a huge one, because in his eyes, Jason was going to hurt her again, let her down, like always. Britt pushed back, defended Jason, defended their bond, but Brad wouldn't budge, wouldn't pretend, wouldn't support something he believed would destroy her. And in that moment, their friendship cracked. Not completely, but enough to feel it. enough to hurt. Meanwhile, across town at the Quatermain mansion, a completely different kind of future was being imagined. Brooklyn Quatermain sat beside Harrison Chase. Hopeful, careful, but excited. Because they were talking about something big, something life-changing. Foster parenting. It wasn't just an idea anymore. It was real. They were considering applying. For a little girl, Delilah Wilson's daughter. A baby with no name, no identity, just Jane Doe. And that didn't sit right. Not with Brooklyn. Not with Chase. So they gave her something better, a name. Phoebe. Simple, beautiful, full of possibility, and as they said it out loud, you could feel it. This wasn't just about helping, this was about building a family, about creating a life, about stepping into something bigger than themselves. But as hopeful as it felt, there was still uncertainty. Because wanting something, and getting it, those are two very different things. And then, there was Jason. Standing in the quiet kitchen, watching his son, Danny Morgan. Just a kid, making a sandwich. Completely unaware that everything was about to change. Jason stepped closer. Careful, measured, like every word mattered. Because it did. He asked Danny a simple question. How would you feel about living with Alexis? Danny paused. Confused. Curious. Because that wasn't random. That wasn't normal, and kids. They always know when something's wrong. So he asked. Pressed. Wanted answers. But Jason couldn't give them. Not all of them. Not the truth. Not yet. He just said he had to leave town, for a while, didn't know when he'd be back. And just like that, the weight of it hit. Danny's expression changed. The realization settling in, something big was happening. Something serious. And his dad was walking into it. Still, Danny didn't get angry, didn't push back, didn't fight it. Because he understood something most people don't. Jason wasn't leaving for himself. He was leaving to help someone, and that mattered. So Danny said it. If someone's in trouble, you help them. That's what his mum would want. Sam McCall. Her voice, her values. Still guiding them. Even now. And for a moment, Jason just looked at him, proud, broken, grateful, all at once. But then Danny said something else, something that hit even harder. He wanted to go with him, and just like that, reality came crashing back. Jason shut it down immediately. No hesitation, no debate. Because this wasn't safe, not even close. Danny didn't argue, but he didn't let it go either. Because if Jason was leaving, if things were uncertain, then he needed something, a promise. So he asked. Simple, direct. Come back. And Jason? He gave it. He promised. And then, one more thing. A small moment, but one that meant everything. Danny had a basketball game, tomorrow, and he wanted his dad there. Jason agreed, said he'd be there, no matter what. But here's the thing about promises. In Port Charles, they don't always hold. Because outside, forces were already moving, plans were already shifting. And danger? It was getting closer, faster, more unpredictable. Britt was preparing to disappear. Marco was preparing to take another risk. Cullum was getting closer to the truth. And Jason, he was stepping into something that might not let him come back. And that game, that simple promise, it might be the one thing he can't keep. So now the question is, what happens next? Does Marco succeed in stealing the medication, or does Cullum catch him in the act? Will Britt and Jason actually escape, or is someone already one step ahead of them? And the biggest question of all, will Jason make it back in time to keep his promise to Danny, or is this the beginning of a goodbye he never meant to say? If you had to choose right now, would you risk everything for love like Marco, or walk away before it's too late? Let me know in the comments. And if you want daily General Hospital spoilers, recaps and deep dive drama just like this, make sure you subscribe because in Port Charles the truth never stays hidden for long.